Hey, what's going on, my brothers? Good morning to you. Good afternoon. Good evening, whenever you might be catching this, if you're live or on the replay. First of all, man, shout out and salute to each and every one of you guys. Also, a special shout out and salute to all of our veterans on this Friday morning. As I'm recording this today, I want to talk to my brothers really quickly about this thing called emotions, specifically the area of anger. As men, many times, man, we experience anger or negative emotions in general. And sometimes they can ruin our lives. Sometimes they can feel, out of control. They can feel like they're in more control of us than we're in control of them. And so I just wanted to share really quickly, man, some game as it comes to, or rather as it pertains to better managing, right? How to better manage your emotions. And so I entitled this one, Steps to Overcome Anger and Negative Emotions. But I'm going to let the cat out the bag right out the gate. There's no need to overcome your negative emotions. Rather, we simply need to learn how to understand our negative emotions. That's really the game changer. That's really what I've learned over the last couple of years is that, emotions are from God. Emotions are given to us for a reason and for a purpose. Emotions are not our enemies. In fact, emotions are and can be our best friend. Now, I grew up rough background, rough situations, rough circumstances. And like many of you, we know what it means to live in environments that provoke anger and outrage and negative emotions. The first thing that I want to share is that our emotions are always in response to something. They are informants. They are always informing us of something. They are always telling us, pay attention to something specific, something that we might not be aware of, but God's given us emotions so that we might become more and more aware of what's triggering those emotions. Therefore, we are able to and we are better equipped to then manage those emotions, leverage those emotions, use those emotions for our good and for our benefit. Man, I don't know how many years, had to be at least 20, 22 years, where based upon my background and the situations that I found myself in as a child coming up, I was always quick to fly off the handle. I was always 0 to 60, right? You say the wrong thing to me, you look at me wrong, you come across me wrong, and I was ready to fight, I was ready to argue, I was ready to lash out because that's all I knew how to do. I didn't know anything about emotional intelligence. Oftentimes, man, that's not communicated. That's not a part of our education in the Black and brown communities. They don't talk about emotional intelligence. They don't talk about emotional management. They don't talk about emotional regulation. So many times we are so unaware of what emotions really are, where they come from, and how to use them. So I just wanted to share with you, man, off the top that I've experienced years of anger and rage and not being in control of my emotions. And so I wanted to just lay down a quick foundation and then I'm going to jump up off this cuz I don't want this to be super long, man. The first thing, like I said, God gave us emotions for our benefit. Emotions are to be leveraged for our good. Many times we look at emotions as our enemies. Like when I feel angry, how can I overcome it? How can I get rid of it? And that's not really the purpose of your emotions. They're not little enemies or little bad guys, excuse me, that come running up on you every so often. And your job is to evade them or to get them up off of you. They're actually there given by God for us to utilize and to leverage so that we might live a greater quality of life, that we might see some things that we would otherwise be unaware of. So that's the very first thing, man. Emotions are given to us by God. They are our friends and they can be a great ally once we learn how to use them. Now, specifically about anger, because there's a plethora, as they say, right? I sound real intelligent, right? A plethora of emotions, right? There's a million of them. And so we could talk about any one of them, but the one that I identify with most and the one that I know the men that I mentor and the men that I come into contact with, the one that we deal with most is emotion or the emotion of anger. And so when we think about anger, one of the things that it's important for us to understand is the root of any anger has to do with fear, fear of an outcome or an attachment to an outcome that hasn't been fulfilled, like an expectation that didn't get fulfilled. So you get angry. Well, the only reason that you got angry is because you had some sort of attachment to an outcome that you desired or expected and it didn't come through. And so now you fear on the other end of that some sort of repercussion or some sort of outcome that's out of your control. So, really understanding anger is attached to fear in most cases. In most cases, I don't want to say absolutes. I don't want to be categorical in my speech. Okay. I don't want to say that this is a blanket statement and it's an absolute. There are no absolutes. There are anomalies in this world. But for the mass majority, when we are angry, it is only because there is something that we fear. And in most cases, it's something attached to an attachment to an outcome that didn't show up for us, or we have like a real problem with the outcome that we perceive on the horizon, like it's about to happen, so we start to anticipate it, and so we get anxious, we get angry because we start to anticipate an outcome that we do not want to see come to fruition. So with that information, now we're better equipped. You feel me? It's all about being equipped. So now we understand that anger is attached to fear in most cases. Okay. Now that we have that information, what are we afraid of? What is the attachment? What is the outcome that we're afraid of? Well, that could be anything. I don't want to go deep and try to, go down that rabbit hole because that could be anything that's pertaining to your life and to your context. So I don't know what that might be. But what I can say, and this is what I would advise you, especially for my men of God, mostly I speak to men of God who have some sort of awareness or some sort of acknowledgement that there is something greater than ourselves, whether you are a Christian or you have another faith. Usually, the people that I'm talking to, there's someone greater, something greater than yourself. And so I just say God, you name it, you name it, you frame it, you put it into your context. But what I'm saying is that once we learn what it is that we're afraid of, this is a great opportunity for you to trust God. This is a great opportunity for you to trust that God has your best interest in mind. Like many times we want to be in control of everything when the truth is, if we really start looking around, we're not in control of much of anything other than ourselves. He gave us governance, he gave us dominion over ourselves, not over one another. And a lot of this, while I won't go down that path, a lot of this is due to our desire and our obsession with trying to dominate one another. And some of that dominance or that attempt for dominance can be very apparent, and some of it can be masked. Some of it can be like in a relationship with our spouse. We try to manipulate, we try to control, we try to get them to do what we want them to do, we try to get them to change in a certain way, and we're trying to dominate the other, whether it's in sports, right? Right now it's football season, basketball season. We try to, as they say, impose our will over someone else. And so a lot of the problem, the root to a lot of this is that as men, we watch these movies like 300, we watch these movies like Spartacus, we watch these movies that show mighty, mighty men that want to conquer and take over. I think in a couple of weeks, I think that movie is called, I want to say Napoleon, right? Another, right? Power figure of a man conquering and taking over. And so, again, I don't want to go down that path, but a lot of this has to do with our ideal of manhood. And the more the more we dominate a situation, or the more we control our path, and the more we do our own thing, the more manly we feel. And when we're faced with those moments, of fear, and we get angry because things don't pan out the way we want them to pan out. On a deeper level, we are concerned with our own personal manhood. And that's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay. But going back to emotions. So now we got this anger rooted in some sort of fear. Something else that I wanted to express to you, brothers. Fear is not feminine. I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back. Fear is not feminine. If you fear something, it don't make you weak. It don't make you less than a man. Do you know that fear, again, we're talking about emotions and the benefit of them. You know, where I live, coyotes are always running around. Where I live, my son and I, a couple of months ago, I think it was at the beginning of this year, we were driving down the street and we saw a bear, like a little cub, run across the street in broad daylight. If I'm outside my car and I'm walking and a bear run up on me, I would hope that I would be afraid. I would hope that I would fear. I would hope that I would be, scared, because that will elicit action that could save my life. And in the same sense, it may not need to be that dramatic, bros, but you being afraid of something can sometimes either save your life literally or save the life of a situation. And so, again, man, this is really about appreciating how God has hooked us up with these things called emotions and how we can use these things, man, to our benefit. So no emotion is a bad emotion. There is no good emotions and bad emotions. I use the word overcome because I just wanted to catch you. I use the word negative because I just wanted to catch you, right? But there is no overcoming. It's all about understanding. It's not about negative or positive. They're just neutral. Emotions are emotions. They have a root in something. Now, how you use your emotion can be in a negative way or a positive way. But that's for you to discern. That's for you to learn how to navigate and how to apply in your life. You feel me? But when you feel the emotion on the onset, is neither negative or positive. It's just an emotion. There's righteous anger. Do you know, like, we're coming up on Martin Luther King Day in a couple months. If that man wasn't angry about what was going on back in the 50s and 60s, he wouldn't have done what he did. Malcolm X, if that's your hero, if he wasn't angry about the injustice that was going on for black folks and brown folks, then he wouldn't have done what he done. My list can go on and on and on. All the American heroes, all of the heroes around the globe, if there was no anger element in their lives, they would not have taken action. You got to get angry about some things sometimes in order for you to then take proper action and to see that thing through. I'm angry about men being overtaken by their emotions. So I'm going live this morning. Like, this ain't rooted out of necessarily love. I mean, yes, love is love. But I mean, to be honest, there was an element of anger in me the more I pondered the fact that I've come across some information that I have used to my advantage that has helped me to live a higher quality of life and a better existence and a more regulated state of being. And I still know that there are brothers that look like me that don't got this information, that are still being tossed around like a rag doll by their emotions. And I got a problem with that. I'm on a mission, y'all, to help brothers that look like me, black and brown brothers. I'm not excluding anybody, but I just know that in my community, there are brothers that are not regulated emotionally, and they are not resourceful economically. Those are my agendas. Okay, those are my agendas, right? Emotional regulation, economic resourcefulness. These are two things that we were not taught, that we did not get a lot of information about, and we were raised and we were sold and told that we needed to do this and needed to do that. We need to be about this and we needed to be about that. But the things that really mattered the most, the internal issues, the internal things that really create the external conditions, for many of us, we've not been educated. And so I'm just taking it upon myself to do what I can do, where I can, when I can, to educate more of us around these things that I'm really, really passionate about. So that's my soapbox. I'm done. Let me wrap it up, man, on these emotions. Let me look at my notes over here, because I ain't looked at my notes the whole time. A lot of it just comes from the heart, man, because I'm passionate about this. But let me look at my notes and make sure that your boy ain't left off nothing. So we already talked about this. All right, we already talked about that. Yep, give it to God, man. Give it to God. This is an opportunity for you to surrender that anger, for you to surrender that fear to the Lord, and to allow Him to work through you, to allow Him to do something that you cannot do on your own. So this is a great opportunity to do that. Obviously, brothers, I coach. Okay, I coach. So if you need to go deeper, you want some hand holding, you want some shoulder to shoulder coaching, mentoring, reach out to me. Okay, imthepossible.com. imthepossible.com. If you want to connect and go deeper and really start to unpack these things, you can only say so much, you can only do so much through a live episode or through any sort of recording. You can only go so deep. All right, so for more in-depth information, for more how-tos, for more of the process, okay, then reach out to me, imthepossible.com. And then lastly, man, I want to leave y'all with something that's kind of slick, something that you can remember, right? Don't lose it, use it. I'm gonna say that one more time. When it comes to emotions, remember, don't lose them, use them. They're for your advantage. They're for your leverage. They're for your good. Don't try to overcome them. Don't try to push them away. Don't try to ignore them. Don't try to forget them. Don't try to act like they're your enemy. Welcome them, embrace them, explore them, look into them. Sit and get still and get quiet and internally ask yourself, why am I angry? Now you got this information. What do I fear? What outcome do I fear that has brought about this anger? Once that comes to you, once you draw that up from the well within your soul, from within your spirit, then you can present that to God and say, God, I'm afraid of this outcome. I don't know what to do if this happens. I don't know how to react, and I don't know how to respond to this outcome if this happens in my life. What do you want me to do? If there's anything that you want me to do, and allow the Lord to fight them battles, man. Allow God to do those things. So, guys, listen, man, don't lose it, use it. When I was being certified as a coach, the way that they put it was don't eliminate, integrate. Don't eliminate, integrate. Shout out to my coaches, man, for dropping that knowledge, for dropping them jewels. Do not eliminate, integrate. Work the emotions in, work them in. They're there for a reason. They are your informants, they are your allies, they are your friends, they are your partners in life. So if there's nothing else that I can, hope that you would take away from this moment, is that you do not lose them, use them. Hope and pray that this is all made sense. I hope and pray that this is edified, built up, helped you to advance in your thinking, man, helped you to be a little bit more edified in your man, your inner man, right? That Adam, that God created man, not just this manhood or this idea of being manly and macho, but you as a human being, you as a man. I speak to you, okay? I employ you. I charge you. You feel me? I empower you in this moment to take back ownership of your mind, to take back ownership of yourself, man. You ain't got to be ran around. You ain't got to be tossed around. These things that I'm spitting game on this morning, these are things that I once did not know. I came into an awareness of, I furthered my education in, and now I've become efficient in the usage of these things, and they are paying huge dividends. And so I want the same for you. All right. Hope and pray that it all makes sense, man. Love y'all, praying for y'all, believing in y'all. Until next time, this is Terrell C.W. Lynch, Mr. What? Remember, if y'all need me, man, reach out. I'm thepossible.com, and it's nothing but love, man. Nothing but love.